Hello, and welcome to Shit's Fucked, a video series that tries to explain why people gripe about things in their current state. This is not a movie review. This is purely just an explanation of a series of events. We'll go back to making What Makes a Bad Story pretty soon and doing movie reviews once we get the proper subject material, because they can't. I mean, are you guys really going to take my word if I just say something about a film and not have any evidence? No. So we're doing this instead for a little bit. This video will basically come in handy to explain things that, to me at this point, are prior knowledge, and I don't want to explain in the middle of a movie review, so I can just call back and say, hey, take a look at this. Anyways. Here's how shit became fucked for the Star Wars franchise. It's 1983. Return of the Jedi just came out. This, for most, was the end. So the fans took it upon themselves to build upon the pre-existing universe and create the expanded universe. Technically, the expanded universe already existed at this point, but for a little bit the stories were few, and most played out to be like the sword and sorcery genre in a science fiction setting, where the characters are dropped into just anywhere and had to deal with whatever. Kind of like MMORPG quests where they had nothing to do with the main plot and it didn't advance the characters as people. What's sword and sorcery, you may ask? Maybe I'll make a video about it later, but until then, just ask Robert E. Howard. I'm pretty sure he'll be able to just give you a good thought-out answer. The stories reeked of wish fulfillment rather than things that made Star Wars feel the way it did. Things like wonder, camaraderie, and courage in the face of great adversity. It wasn't until after Return of the Jedi that novels were a bit more thought out and didn't try to mess with the canon of the films. These were branded with the new Lucas Books brand on them. While still published by Del Rey like the other ones, these were a bit more tasteful and actually expanded the universe and its characters. Well, most did. There were a few bad eggs, but nothing is ever perfect. Most were respected by the fans to be canon. Some writers were even let in on some of the general ideas of what might happen in the prequels, allowing them to incorporate it into their stories here and there. Many fans believed that certain novels were going to become adapted to film trilogies and the like, due to the amount of adaptations and spin-offs made from the content. But then Star Wars gained a larger following. Some fans requested to see more of certain characters that didn't matter, characters like Boba Fett. That's when shit started to get fucked. More and more stories started to revolve around cool-looking characters doing cool-looking things and shark-jumping premises instead of well-written stories. Why did the fans request this? I don't know. Maybe the older fans were content with the content they had contended with, so they didn't think they needed stories on pointless characters. So the only voices heard were the shitty fake fans. Every fandom has them. You know who I'm talking about? The kind of people who mistake character names, the people who ship family members. The kind of people will say, well, it doesn't matter anyways, it's just fiction. Those people. I'm not sure, but that's one of the few ways I can try to explain how the hell Star Wars fans wanted stories like these. But anyways, for whatever reason, this happened. And then the prequels happened. Then the expanded universe began to make content based around the prequels. Much like before, some content was good, some content was bad and messed up with the canon of the movies. The majority of the content being good, also like before. Unfortunately, the bad content became more popular. Now don't get me wrong, popular opinion isn't always wrong. But the best works of Star Wars came when there was a happy balance between what the fans wanted and what Lucas wanted. If you give Lucas what he wants, you get prequels. If you give fans what they want, they get to turn dead characters back to life so they can just fight stuff for no reason. Again, which is bad. The old expanded universe brought new stories to light and developed the world in ways that none of us could have expected. The entire Old Republic was created by fan writers at first, and that's one of the most universally accepted parts of Star Wars outside the main trilogy. Unfortunately, this balance shifted when Lucas sold Lucasfilm to Disney. This is the most definite moment that shit got fucked.
Look at it! Look at it! Look at it! Look at it!
Nothing is perfect, and fan bases will always have good parts and bad parts. But this is about the point that Star Wars, just all Star Wars content, took a huge dive in quality in every aspect. The few pieces of content that didn't still had tons of room for possible improvement. If you've been watching my channel, you know that I believe wasted potential via producing average content makes said content bad. Comics, books, EU content, TV shows, even the base films became mediocre. Disney realized that canning the entire EU was a bad decision, but instead of bringing it back, they made a new, shittier one to overwrite the old one. To add insult to injury, they copied many stories from the old EU to fuel the new EU with watered-down reboots of anything. Even the new Rogue One movie coming out is completely stolen. And I say stolen because it's a watered-down reboot adaptation instead of a direct production. Disney is not going to put effort into the Star Wars franchise. The new fans don't even care because they don't recognize what made the original films great. Some haven't even watched them, and they live that fake nerd pop culture ankle-biting lifestyle that is fine with whatever mediocrity comes their way, because they don't know better. The kids are the same as they ever were. They'll watch whatever, and also don't give a fuck about anything because they're kids. You know, why should they? And most older fans have already dropped out or moved on to greener pastures because they saw this coming when the prequels came out. Anyone else that doesn't fit into these demographics is either not interested in Star Wars at all, or knows how bad shit's fucked. Due to that, there's little to no chance that Star Wars will ever reclaim its former glory. This is how shit became fucked. See you next time.